Good day, class. Let's now continue our discussion with other literary genres with the third lesson, electronic literature. In this lesson, we are going to talk about what is an electronic literature, how do we define it and differentiate it with the other forms of literary genres, and how it in particular helps us to preserve our culture and share it for the entire world to see the Filipino values and cultures. Now with this lesson, I want you to take down important discussions and questions that may be formed during the course of our lecture. Now for this lesson, the main objectives is to define what an electronic literature is and identify the different kinds of electronic literature. Other forms or exercises are going to be found in the modules assigned to you in Quipper. Now in this lesson, we try to answer the essential question, what makes electronic literature unique from other literary genres? What is the difference between e-literature or electronic literature with the other literary genres that we have discussed? Now, in this lesson class, here are the vocabulary words that we are going to encounter that we may find unfamiliar. So, take note of them and see if we encounter them during the course of our lecture. First, paperback. Paperback is a noun which means a book having a cover made of thick paper. Example, my favorite book will be published in paperback next month. Second, hypertext. Hypertext is a noun which means text displayed on the screen enabling access to other information through clicking. Example, to access the other document, you need to click the hypertext link. Third, digital. Digital is an adjective which means relating to computer technology. Example, digital images are easier to edit. Fourth, kinetic. Kinetic is an adjective which means producing or involving movement. Example, kinetic poetry is classified under electronic literature. 5. HTML. HTML is a noun which means hypertext markup language, a manner of marketing text to make it appear on the internet. Example, can you name one program for generating HTML? So take note of these different vocabulary words as we go along our discussion. Now let's try to discuss or learn what is an electronic literature or e-lit. Electronic literature is the collective term for literary works with important literary aspects that take advantage of the capabilities and contexts provided by computers. Meaning to say, they are mostly found in computers, in computer programs, the different capabilities and contexts that are provided by computers. There are different kinds of electronic literature. Let's try to discuss them one by one. First is digital fiction. Digital fiction is read from a computer, tablet, or smartphone. It can be app-based or web-based. It contains hyperlinks, sound effects, mini-games, or moving images. There are two types of digital fiction. We have the hypertext fiction, which is a non-linear and reader-centered, wherein the readers are provided with different links in the story, and in some hypertext works, the readers can add their own version of the story. An example of this is Douglas Cooper's Delirium. And we also have interactive fiction. Interactive fiction is an adventure story in a software-stimulated environment that is usually a video game or a video game where the reader or the player controls how the story will develop. Interactive fiction has multiple storylines and endings that may vary. An example of this is 80 Days, an adventure game based on Jules Verne's Around the World in 80 Days. Another example of e-lit is digital poetry. Digital poetry can be accessed through a computer, tablet, or smartphone. It is available on the internet and sometimes as digital video or films. 5 types of digital poetry include hypertext poetry. This provides links to another page, which describes or elaborates on ideas. Some link sounds, visual images, and other poems. An example is the hypertext version of T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. We also have interactive poetry. This allows readers to contribute to the content or form of a poem. Readers can collaborate to create a poem or interact with it. An example is Jabber, or the Jabberwocky Engine, a site that creates neologisms or invented words or phrases. Another is code poetry. Code poetry is written in programming language formats such as C++, Java, or HTML that is not in reality executable. As an example is Kenny Brown's creation. Fourth is visual or concrete poetry. This uses visual presentation to enhance the meaning of the poem. The layout, or how the words, lines, verses are placed or shown, is as important as the content. Examples include Lewis Carroll's The Mouse's Tale, George Herbert's Easter Wings, and Eugene Gomringer's Silence. And lastly is kinetic poetry. This uses kinesthesia, a literary device that describes the action or movement of a person or an object. Writers use technology for a more visual expression of their works and employ the use of kinetic typography or moving text for an elaborate expression of an emotion or thought. An example of this type of poetry is by an Australian group called 313RGB, where one stands in front of the screen and moves words with the use of one's hands. Now here is an example of T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. I want you to read this in your module in Quipper and answer the following guide questions. Now class, if there are questions that were able to form during the course of our discussion, make sure to write them down and discuss them during our online classes. Thank you for watching this video and always keep safe.